Well, I did so because from conviction. What I felt was that, what does citizenship mean? For me, it's where your heart is. I studied in England and I wanted to settle in England. But then after a while I realized, no, Seychelles is where I belong. And that's what I feel about Robert, you know, that his heart is here. I've seen Robert elsewhere, being a member of the board of two of his companies. And I feel sincerely that in Seychelles, this is where he's most relaxed. And also, there are certain things which you can't really fully explain, but pastorally, I think as priests, clergy people, we're given this privilege in looking into the souls of people. I mean this with all, you know, sincerity and humility. So looking into the soul of Robert, as it were, I felt that, you know, here was a place where he, shall I say, he found his God. Somebody arrives here at 5 o'clock in the morning after a long, long flight. And he travels all the way from where he lives to the north of the island to attend that little church when he easily could have said, I'm tired, so I need to rest. He comes to that little church where it's a very small congregation, but he feels at home there. There's a kind of bonding, which again I feel that it's difficult to explain, but the way he feels at home in that little church. I think now I can honestly say I know him quite well. My contact with Robert and Jane as a couple was when I was asked to make arrangements for someone in Mauritius to bless their wedding. And I was still in office then as Bishop and Archbishop. He could easily have got married in England, but he and Jane wanted to get married in our part of the world. And then the baptism of James also could have taken place elsewhere. But it was in a very small church where, in fact, I'm the parish priest now in the north of Mahe. It's only over the years that I've been able, you know, meeting the person. The way I would describe Robert is that he's a very good businessman, but also someone with a lot of compassion. I think the compassion comes from the fact that he started off from a rather poor family. Well, that himself told me, you know, somebody who, for example, in the morning, instead of butter on your bread and jam, it was dripping, you know, from a meal that had been cooked before, say pork. And compassion in the sense that gradually I got to know some of the things that Robert was doing for Seychelles. It's a small place, so it's not difficult to get to know certain things. Like he's got very, very soft spot for orphans, for children, especially in need. I don't know, obviously, all that he's done, but what I do know is that the orphaning towns, St. Elizabeth Convent, he always makes it a point of visiting there and taking James with him, so that James would also understand that, you know, there are some needy children here. He goes in person, visits them, brings them gifts. We replace the roof of the orphanage, and so, I mean, this is only one. And somebody else was burgled, for example, and the first thing he thought of was, well, let me replace what's, because that young person was traveling. I replace your backpack and also whatever money there was in it that you were going to use in your travel. And just came out, you know. As far as the church is concerned, when we were discussing the baptism of James, he said to me, we were building, or about to start the construction of St. Paul's Cathedral. And he said to me, what sort of roof are you going to put on this cathedral? So I said, well, we're looking at our budget, and we'll find a roof that will be appropriate in the sense of something we can afford, and also the salt in the air, and something that will blend with the surroundings. I didn't know what he had in mind. Immediately he said, why don't you put a copper roof on that building? I mean, I was taken aback. I said, well, this is a dream, because copper, two things, would last a very long time, and if you could afford that, you would do it. But it's way beyond our means, because we've taken a sizable loan. He said to me, think of a copper roof, and I'll make it happen. So, you know, it's that kind of situation that made me understand Robert a bit more.